Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 13, I believe it is, of the Getting to the Core podcast. And the theme for today's Ask Me Anything AMA is surrendering and letting go. So that's a big theme, and it is the month of May right now here in California. And so we've picked for this whole year, we've picked themes, like every month there is a theme which we deem to be important on the path of transformation or personal growth. All these aspects are important. So today we have surrender and letting go. And I have some really great questions from people. And I see sort of a through line through all the questions. So, what I'd actually like to start with, which I often do, is just a little sort of letting go, surrendering practice right here and there. So, if you're listening to this as an audio, if you can stop for a moment what you're doing, great. And if you're listening, watching me, also, if you can stop for a moment, great. Because this isn't really some philosophical discussion. This is actually an experience to be had, what it's like to surrender. So let's just take a moment. And if you can, just close your eyes for a moment. And just finding a posture with your body that is surrendered. It's not slouching. It's not like, like being collapsed or something. It's with dignity, a posture that signifies your dignity. But it's also not tight or tense. It's open. So I like to sit with my hands open. That to me symbolizes, you can't see that on the video, but that to me symbolizes surrender. And my chest is not caved in or not pushed out, but it's sort of in the middle. If you could just do that with me, that would be great. And I'm just allowing my breath. I'm not trying to take deep breath, but I'm also just allowing my natural breath to become a little fuller, a little deeper. So I can activate what we call the parasympathetic nervous system, which is a part of our nervous system that is responsible for relaxation. So just taking a few lovely, relaxed, surrendered breaths, and particularly paying attention to the out breath, because the out breath is about letting go, right? About surrendering. You might even want to make a sound with it. And with if you keep your hands open, I love doing that because it just helps me sense in my body the sense of surrender. It's not something that I think about or have a great philosophy about. It's something I can kinesthetically feel in my body when I open my hands. Like, you can't be completely uptight when you have open hands, and an open body posture. It's difficult to be tense and tight internally, when so we can let our body help us be open and surrendered and just right here. And I also just, want to invite you just to sense what you're sitting on or standing on, like to just for a moment, just sense the support underneath you, behind you. Because that's also really important for us to feel safe enough to surrender or let go. We need to be supported. We need to sense that something or someone is holding us, there's a holding environment. And just this physical sensation right now of my chair, like I sense actually that my armchair is holding up my hands, and I'm sensing my bottom on the chair and my back is supported, and that makes it easier to surrender a little bit more and to let go a little bit more with my out breath. And then when you're ready, opening your eyes. So this is a different approach than trying to surrender or to let go. Like it's different to actually for a moment just sense it in my body without thinking about it. Yeah, so that's what I want to say. First of all, that we know our body knows how to surrender. We know how to surrender with every breath. We know how to, it's built into us, and I really trust the body that it's built into us to relax, to let go. Yeah. And I always like this very simple, this is kind of the grip of our ego. So the ones of you that are listening, it's like just making two fists, yeah, and holding on, like to an opinion, to a belief, to a position, to something we really, really, really want, and we're squeezing it so tight, like so. Everybody, you can just try that. Just make a fist. This is how we often walk through life, yeah. Like I felt that way this morning because I was in a time crunch, and I could feel my whole body getting tight, like because I was like, I gotta, so that's when then things get tight, and then I did remember to breathe and to just have a few breaths, and then it's like you can just open your hands, right? Like we just did in the presencing exercise, and it's just a different sense, like approaching my life like this with open hands. Yeah, that's just different. Even the difficult situations in our life, we can approach that way, and it's much easier to come up with an answer to the questions that we have when we are not so tight. Yeah, so I just want to give you this as a little tip, like sometimes when you feel really tight inside, just tense your body, oh, and then let it go. Yeah, like the tension go. That helps so much. To the body is so amazing in helping us how to actually surrender. Yeah, so now I'm going to just approach a few questions. Yes, yes, Frida, it's such a good thing to release our tight grip. It is, isn't it? So one question here is about how is surrendering and letting go different than forgetting? How is it different than giving up? How do I know when to let go of a relationship or when to fight for it? Oh man, that's such a good question. And many of us have been in that situation when, like, in a relationship, right? So, but first of all, so theoretically, what is the difference between surrendering and letting go and forgetting? Um, I think I think that's very different. you know, I'm not sure what kind of forgetting you mean here, but surrendering is a choice. Yeah, that's how I would say it's an empowered choice to let go or to surrender. Yeah, and we make it from what we call at COR the healthy self, which is the part of us that's conscious, that's wise, that's present, that's relaxed. Yeah, from that kind of more detached place. So surrendering, the kind of surrendering or letting go I'm talking about here for this month is a conscious choice. Yeah, like we don't just forget something, which is unconscious. Yeah, but it's conscious. We choose to let go, to forgive, to surrender. So I think that's one of the differences. And then about a relationship, when is it time to fight for it? And when is it time to surrender? That's such a good question. Surrender meaning just it's letting it go. It's not working, right? And I'm probably a terrible person to answer the question because uh, I, in my relationship life, have fought and fought and fought for my, for example, my former marriage. Yeah, I didn't let go for a long, long time, because we also had a family, and that was really, I really wanted that to work. And and to know when you let go and when to fight is such a big question. um and I think, again, even the word fight, like, is it a good fight, like a fighting from your healthy self, meaning you really give it all you've got? And that's kind of what I got down to in the end, like with my relationship, my former relationship, my former marriage. I asked myself, have I given this all I've got? Not just have I fought for it, but which I can do. My tendency is fighting anyways. I'm a fighter, right? So that wasn't, and the fighting didn't really get me anywhere, but have I given this all I've got? Like, and especially in relationships that are long-term relationships or marriages or um, relationships with children, you really do want to give it all you've got. I believe, yeah, and that's might be a better question than have I fought for it hard enough, but is there something else I or we can do? Is there some kind of support we can get? Is there something that we're both willing to do, that we're both willing to engage in? Is there some other way that I can approach this, that I haven't thought about before, or that hasn't come into, and hasn't come into my awareness? And or have I given it all I've got? We've given it all we've got, and we're still here in this place where what I need and what you need is so different um, that it just doesn't work. We will both be unhappy if we stay here, like fundamentally unhappy, So um, I believe that we have some fundamental non-negotiable needs in relationships that are, like, for example, for me, uh, it is fundamentally important that my partner is engaged in this transformational journey, actively engaged, yeah, and happily engaged in this, like he's passionate about it, like that. And I didn't really know that before I literally got engaged with my former husband, but also um, I just didn't really know that because I developed into this passionate person about the transformational journey and this passionate seeker, and I really needed my partner to engage with me in this. And my former partner did not engage with me in this, at least not in the way that I felt met. Like he might have a different opinion about this, but we didn't meet in that arena, right? And I realized after a while, this is so fundamental for me, so fundamental for me, that it's so much who I am, and like I just would always be missing this and be so unhappy, like if I wasn't met there. And that make him so miserable because I couldn't accept him the way he was, like, and the way his path was. I just, I could accept that if he was separate from me and just a friend or anybody, but my mate, my soul mate, like I was like, I just, I just couldn't see how that would work, so um and we tried many, 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 many things, so that was, for example, a point where I felt like it got to this place where the the stretch that both of us would have to make to fulfill the other one's need would be so big that the rubber band would break, so um And that's, I think, in that situation where the fundamental non-negotiable need is not met, I think that's when it's time to surrender and to let go into that this is not working, so, and hopefully that gets discerned at the beginning of a relationship. That's why I think a discernment process is really important to see, are we fundamentally aligned, so I hope that answers that question. um, just looking if there's anybody else here. um, so uh, and if I'm not at that point yet, to answer that question a little bit more, where I'm really still, like, there's so much love and we're having difficulties, like, which is completely normal. Yes. Uh, then I say, and I would change the word from fighting to giving it all I've got. That has a sort of more positive approach and less gripping to me, like, just to really align on, let's do it. Let's make this work. Let's see what we need to do and what help we need to get to make this work. Yeah. So um, that's when I think. And then she has put one more little side question. Is there a practice you can recommend to build the muscle of surrender versus controlling? Yes. So, I think just a simple practice. And I believe, you know, like, my mind is not so great in this moment, but yes, we are doing that at the end of this month. Actually, this you will get a practice exactly for that, a letting go practice. So tune in. That will be, I believe, two more episodes. It's episode 15, yeah, of this particular podcast, which is an actual physical helping you to let go through your body practice. So um, uh, which, when we're using the body and its ability to contract and let go, to actually learn to let go. Yeah. And the other little practice is what we just did in the beginning of this, which is just simply focusing on the out breath. Just which I said before, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is all about surrendering and letting go. So just deep breathing. I know this is so, like, really deep breathing, but it's amazingly helpful, to just even take 3, if you can, 5 or 7 or even 10 deep breath, and particularly focusing on the out breath. Yeah, is such a simple and super, super, super helpful practice. So, like, let's say you breathe in for the count of 3 and then out on the count of 5. So really focusing, still deeply breathing in, but focusing particularly on the out breath. Yeah, it's a very immediate little practice that you can do to help yourself to let go. And then the one that I just said with the fist, right? Like just tightening, tight, and then again with the out breath, letting go. So these are just 3 little things that you can immediately apply. Yeah. So let's see what else we've got here. This is also a similar question. We always discern this about surrendering. Like, so this is the question. I've experienced what it's like to live without surrendering and trusting and needing to feel in control. And I've experienced living in full surrender and trust. Blessed be you, sister. That's awesome when you've experienced that. What I find challenging is finding the middle ground and discerning when I need to take the reins and make things happen, like a job, like get a job so I can support myself, and when I should step back and let go and allow something else to be in charge and trust I'll be taken care of, and when to do a little of both. Do you have any tools or tips for that discernment process of knowing when it's safe to surrender and when I need to step up in a healthy way? Great question. You guys do such great questions. So first of all, I just want to acknowledge how healthy this question is. This already shows how how much how much awareness is already there, because there is a healthy surrendering and letting go, and then there is a kind of unconscious giving in, um, even even being lazy, like and then selling it as a surrendering or letting go, or there's a spiritual bypassing. That's very common in the kind of spiritual new age world, to use, oh, I'm just so let go, I'm just so surrendered, when really action is needed, so, and we're using this phrase as some kind of bullshit phrase to not actually do what needs to be done. So there's a healthy letting go and surrender and an unhealthy letting go and surrendering. And the same with taking charge, right? There's a healthy taking charge and going, it's time for action, like from a healthy place, yeah, getting off my butt and getting in the gym or whatever it is that is needed, or helping my friend move, or like whatever it is that is like a healthy action, right? And there's an unhealthy action that I, for example, often get into, because I'm a type A kind of personality, and I just do things just to do something, like from a kind of stress place or something, so that's really important to know, that almost to everything that there is in life, there's a healthy way to do it and an unhealthy way to do it. And we can always use a healthy kind of truth to do something very untruthful. Yeah, we're tricky, we're human beings. So, hi, Kelly. Hi, Ellen. So, just saying hi to people here. And Kristen, haven't seen you guys for a while, all of you. So, anyways, where was I? Healthy, unhealthy. So, how do I discern this? So, that's, as usual, there's no easy answer to any of this. And sometimes I feel like it's more about just living into the question. Yeah, hi, honey. Uh, than just coming up with a quick answer. Like the question is just so good, like how do I know? And I don't know, are you on this right now? Yes, hi, Leah. So I just almost want to ask you, how do you know? Like, like what, how does it feel when you take an action from your healthy self? Like, what is it like to take an action from your healthy self? And it just feels aligned and right, even if it's a lot or it's stressful, but you choose to do it. I think I read this great Facebook post by Erin. Hi, Erin, you're here too, I think, about a reminder that we can actually choose our life, like whoever is in it, our children, our parents, our work, our everything is a choice. We can just kind of unconsciously go through life and or resist what's in our life, resist our children, resist our job, resist just about anything, how we look, and you know how much money we have, or whatever it is. We can resist all that, or we can choose to actually actively participate in our life as it is, as a kind of ground zero place, like just to say, okay, I'll choose this. Not I have to do this, yeah, and I drag myself through it, but I actually choose it. And already that is surrender, to be with what is. Yeah, and to choose it versus resist it. um and I've got on a little tangent here, I got to come back to the question. Um so the healthy self of us chooses the action versus I'm just unconsciously doing it, um, which can be very stressful. Or on the other side, I unconsciously don't do anything. I'm just spacing out. I'm lazy. I I'm scared, I'm nervous, so I just don't choose any action and then tell myself I'm all surrendered and let go, So um, either way, I think again, what makes the difference here is, do I choose this? Do I choose this my whole, with all I've got available to me in this moment, like in terms of with my mental capacity, with my heart, with my body, do I choose this? And even if this is hard, so in terms of like, should I get a job or should I trust a little longer and not get a job right now? Because maybe it's time to spend some time just kind of hanging out in the unknown, because I don't really know yet what job I want to do. Now, if you have the financial means to do that, then yes, then take a break. Like if that doesn't put you into debt, so there's like also realities to take care of, right? It's good to take a break from what we usually do and step back and look at it. If I can do that, like um, just to take a job because everybody else got a job, and you feel kind of left out of the rat race, that might not be so smart, if you have the financial means to take a while, to take a moment, to however long that moment is, to discern, then I think that's great, to take a time to really sense into, feel into, inquire into what what is it that I want to do, or what's my next step. Yeah. So I think again the most important part is that it comes from a choice, whatever we do here. It's not just automatic, because automatic and unconsciously we just do what in COR we call our survivor self strategies. So in my case, it's just I just do for doing sake because I feel important when I do stuff, and feel like that's what I decided to do as a kid when I was having a hard time in my childhood. I just decided to do things, to make things happen, and so if I don't watch out and I'm not conscious, I just keep doing that, even though action is not needed right now and not is not wise right now to act. Yeah, like it would be much wiser to rest or to take a few breaths or to actually plan what I'm going to do versus just doing something, So again, it's a lot about choice and consciousness. I hope that answered your question. Um, let me see. No comments. So I do hope it answers your questions. And then I have another good one here. Also confidential question. I am married to a wonderful man, and we are committed to doing our work together. Beautiful. One area we struggle is that he wants kids and I don't. I love him very much and I don't want to lose my husband, but I'm clear that I don't want to have kids any longer. How can I bring surrender and trust to this issue? Yeah, that's one of those issues, isn't it? Like this is a big issue. Yeah, like this is a big issue too. I think that's one of those life situations. And um, that brings a lot, like, how can you surrender? What does it mean for both of you? Like for the person that wants to have children and the person that doesn't want to have children. Here you are married. What does it mean for both of you to surrender and to let go? And that's another one of those that I definitely don't have like you should do this, you should do this about it, like I don't have that answer. First of all, my heart goes out to you and to anybody else in that situation, like that's a big one, and I can imagine that's a big stretch for either one of you, like it's like, do we have children? And then the person that doesn't want children stretches, or do we not have children? And then the person that doesn't want to have children stretches, and um, that's a big, so first of all, compassion, like that this is not an easy situation. And when I'm going to answer this a little bit more theoretically because I don't know the circumstances. But I think it's important to look, is it for both of you a non-negotiable? Like, is it like just a strong preference, or is it like an absolute, I need to have children, or I really do not need to have children? Like, is there a flexibility and opening? Um, and what does it mean to surrender into the situation? So this is the situation that we've got. So again, it's like choosing, like we were just talking about. I'm so happy I read that this morning in Erin's post. It just kind of got me, that word. I mean, it's like choosing, this is my partner right now, and my partner has a different need or a different want than I do about something very important, to actually actively step into that situation and say, what is it like to surrender into this tension, into this, these people with these opposing needs who love each other, right? What is it like to actually be right in here, and not leave with my love, not leave with my compassion, not leave with my intelligence, like, and be right here in this paradox, and what is it like to surrender into this with love, and lean into each other with this kind of tension, so that's about as far as I can go right now without knowing much more about the situation and everything. But and what can I learn right here in this tension, like, what is there to learn? What is there to learn for me? And how can I surrender? How far can I stretch, without my rubber band breaking? We talked about this before. We do want to stretch. Yeah, we do want to stretch for each other also in a relationship. That's what makes relationships so beautiful. It's like to give of ourselves and let ourselves be stretched beyond our comfort zone, like that. I think love does that. It stretches us way beyond our comfort zone, and our separate little self, and yet, when is the rubber band breaking, right? Like, when is it too much of a stretch? And my humanity, like, you know, including, my age, my body, my, like my heart, my mind, like my humanity, which is limited, in how far it can stretch, like, it's like still stays intact. So, oh, hi, Melissa. I haven't seen you for a long, long time. Yeah, so that's a piece, like, in terms of stretching for the other or surrendering to the other and what the other needs and wants, like, is like, which is beautiful in a relationship and always part of any really well functioning relationship. We do stretch for each other, and we surrender to each other. We let go into each other. Um, and and we also have our humanity, right? And like, when I told you before, in my marriage before, in my humanity, in I needed to be met here, like, in this, and I know other couples that didn't need that, like, one of them was on the path, really passionately on the path, and the other wasn't, and they're fine. And I was like, why can't I be like this? Why can't I just not need this? And but I did need it. And it always came back to that point, like, it was like, I kind of let go for a little bit, and then it would come back up again, like, so many times, so my humanity was like, needed that particular piece from my husband that I didn't get, and that was so important to me, and in his humanity, this just wasn't what was interested. He wasn't interested in that, like, the way that I was, like, and it would have meant for him to turn himself into a pretzel to meet my need, and vice versa. So there's also a humanity that needs to be, even if the greatest or wisest part of us could stretch, and could surrender and could let go, but there's another part that's like, no, so we need to honor that in both people, so this is not an easy question, but it's beautiful, and it's beautifully asked. And I trust, just from the way that the question was asked, that you too will find a solution, to this. That somehow means for both of you to surrender and let go. Um, yeah. So let me just see if there's anything else. I hope that was helpful. And I don't remember what month it was. That might have been February, a few months back. Compassion, right? Let one of the first things that we ever talked about was compassion. After being present and mindful, is like, this deserves so much compassion, so much leaning in, so much tenderness. This is such a tender subject, so like so many things are that are human, they're tender. Yeah. So let me just see if I have any more questions, but um I think that's it, darling. So like one more time on the side here. Yeah, so thank you for joining me by on live or on audio, and sending you so much love, and have fun surrendering and letting go. It's actually really fun. Life is much more fun, much more hi Adam, much more exciting, much more in the flow, when we basically, I was just at a Buddhist, I got to talk one more quick thing. I was just at a Buddhist compassion cultivation training, and one of the gifts they said, that in Tibetan Buddhism, was like about how the gifts you can give to another human being is just the gift of freedom from fear. Like, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, one of the greatest gifts we can give, to let someone else know basically everything is okay. And you can trust and surrender. You can let go. It's like, it's okay. You don't have to hold on for dear life to control everything. Um, it's basically good. Life is good. People are good. Life is good. At the base of everything is something you can trust and let go into and surrender into, no matter what life brings you. And life can be sometimes really, really hard and painful and difficult and challenging, and there's suffering. Yeah. And yet, like, the basic disposition of if the basic disposition to life is surrender and letting go, it is so much more beautiful. And right, and that means choosing, saying yes to what is right before me, who is in it, who's in my life, what's in my life, and just letting go into the goodness that is here, even when it's difficult, right? Even when my baby is screaming at the top of my lungs and I haven't gotten any sleep, I can still choose to be here with this annoying noise in my ear and my nervous system going crazy. I can still choose to be here. And that is a certain kind of surrender, letting go, versus this should not be happening, and I don't want to be here, which is, even then, even surrendering to that humanity, and to to accept that and be with that, like, is an art. So if the basic disposition to life is a surrender and letting go, it is just so much more beautiful, so much more beautiful, and so much more rich and empowering and fulfilling. So I'm going to leave you with that thought. Mwah. um, Oh, happy, Melissa, that you needed to hear that today. And I really do believe in the goodness of life, and the goodness of you, whoever's listening to this. I know you're good. And I know life is good. And I know sometimes it doesn't seem like that, but it is. So I want to leave you with that thought. Mwah! Big hug, lots of love. Bye bye.